TV Crazy Man here. In this video, I've compiled some of the biggest mistakes and goofs of Hanna Barbera, a company that's created some of the best loved cartoon series of all time. We'll run through some crazy goofs from your favorite shows like that of the Flintstones, Pac Man, Scooby Doo, the Super Friends, and lots more.
They're everywhere!
Remember how popular the video game Pac Man was back in the 80s? He was so popular that he got his own TV series. Well, here's a strange scene I noticed the other day from Pac Man's second season episode, the Super Pac Bowl. Of course, actually in this episode there were several shots where the crowd in the background just never moves. Well, except for this one Pac dude who moves his finger around. The rest of the Pac people appear to be frozen in time.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
I guess it's possible they were so scared of the ghost monsters that they were unable to move. But they look so happy about it.
Now that's what I call injustice.
If Jane Jetson looks a little odd to you, it's because they forgot her eyebrows in this particular shot. Of course, with the way I draw my characters, I probably shouldn't say a word. Here's a goof I recently noticed from the swimming pool episode of the Flintstones.
Not a bad idea.
When Fred whacks Barney with a board, it doesn't look like the same board anymore once it stops moving. Now it's got more detail and it's lost a nail. I do wonder if the nail is in Fred now, though.
What am I laughing at?
On the original closing of the Flintstones, they seem to have forgotten Wilma's mouth. Now check out what Fred looks like from a great distance. Then when they zoom in a lot, it looks like Fred needs a haircut. That's better. Now I loved the Super Friends growing up, but they did have a few glitches here and there. On the episode The Time Trap, Green Lantern appears to have 3 arms.
If it's a just you want, it's a just you'll get.
Well, I would say it was red kryptonite or something like that, but I think that only affects Superman.
Okay, Grodd. Activate the time conveyor.
So in this scene, Lex Luthor is watching Captain Cold on screen while giving orders to Grodd in Captain Cold's voice.
Okay, Grodd. Activate the time conveyor.
Now, just because you thought you saw a superhero go on a particular mission on the Super Friends, that didn't necessarily mean they would actually arrive.
But we'd be glad to send you up the river.
It's the Super Friends.
Of course, in all fairness to the animators, Wonder Woman and Apache Chief both have long hair. Maybe that threw them off. On the episode Trial of the Super Friends, Black Manta and Bizarro are stealing something at a government base, while also appearing at the Hall of Doom at the same time. And we know it's the same time because the narrator says, meanwhile.
Meanwhile, inside the flying Hall of Doom.
On the episode, Monolith of Evil.
Holy H2O, Batman, a water monster.
That freeze ray should stop him.
Somehow, the Bat Freeze Ray started freezing the water monster before it actually hit the monster. On the episode, The Giants of Doom, the Super Friends are sent to Saturn, minus Aquaman, who, despite this, manages to leave Saturn with the other Super Friends. But, I mean, let's face it, they probably figured no kid would notice if Aquaman was there or not.
An hour and there's no sign of Aquaman or the diving bell. It's been over an hour and there's no sign of Aquaman or the diving bell.
The signal ring locator should spot him anywhere on Earth.
He's right there, for crying out loud.
Oh, the radar screens. There's no sign of it.
Seriously, he's right there.
Aquaman's ring is either malfunctioning or something is trapping its beam.
How could you not see him?
We'll split up and search.
He was standing right next to you.
You two stay here. If you receive any message from Aquaman, contact us immediately.
Again, on the episode Giants of Doom, now notice that standing next to Superman is Batman and the Flash. Then it's Wonder Woman and the Apache Chief. Now it's back to Batman, and his insignia is inverted. Oh yeah, before they left Saturn, Superman's red cape turns blue. On the episode Secret Origins of the Super Friends, Green Lantern and Superman arrive to rescue Green Lantern. You can kind of tell that Green Lantern's pretty bummed about having to rescue himself. You know, Robin has an awful time keeping his insignia on. On the episode, Swamp of the Living Dead, Green Lantern is captured again.
Free! Later, at the Hall of Justice.
And this time, he's also hanging out at the Hall of Justice. I guess that way he can rescue himself again later. In the episode, The Final Challenge, Batman loses his bat symbol altogether.
Quick, Gotham! Quick, Gotham! Wait a minute. Look at this. It appears our villainous friends made a terrible mistake and forgot to cover up their tracks.
In the episode, Fairy Tale of Doom. Wait, does Black Vulcan wear pants or not? You know, what is the problem with Hanna Barbera and pants anyway?
I just want some pants. A decent pair of pants.
Deals to 30,000 megacycles and will triangulate.
That's Black Vulcan. He's lost his sleeves from one scene to the next. I think Superman's trying to help him find them.
I've scanned millions of square miles and haven't found a thing.
Taken over the SP oil reserves in Saudi Arabia.
We've got to try to stop him. Come on.
What in blazing kryptonite is happening here?
On a few occasions, Batman's voice, supplied by classic TV actor Olin Soul, could be heard coming out of the wrong Super Friend.
The Superman. The creature must have escaped into the swamp. We've got to find it. I'm on my way.
Superman's eyes disappear for half a second too. And sometimes, Superman's voice would come out of another Super Friend.
We'll split up and search for him.
You know, the Super Friends wasn't the only Hanna-Barbera production to have mixed up voices from time to time. In the episode, Tales of the Vienna Hoods. Here's how they normally sound.
Let's make a break for it. You got it.
There's these strange voices coming out of Bone and Luke that aren't them.
I wonder what those fellas are looking for.
This episode was worse than the Super Friends for voice goofs.
Maybe my transmission's slipping.
You're right, Daisy. Who's gonna pay to see a band with fellas that old?
What do you think's going on? Beats me, but we better get out of here.
So that's why those fellas were following us. They were after Cindy Sue. It'd be nice to go see some entertainment Saturday night. If them famous musician fellers is playing anywhere near town.
Gotta work our way back to General Lee, then light the heck on out of here.
They even had Richie Cunningham talking out of Ralph Mouth once on the show Fonz and the Happy Days Gang.
Is in font. But this is ridiculous. Is in font. But this is ridiculous.
Here's some Jonny Quest goofs that I found recently. Jonny Quest is known for its amazing art that looks like it was lifted right out of a superhero comic book. But Hanna-Barbera had a strict schedule, which meant a few goofs slipped by for the sake of getting the episodes done on time. In the first episode, The Mystery of the Lizard Men, it looks like they couldn't decide if this submarine bad guy has on gloves or not.
Maintain strict silence.
Here they colored in his hands as if he were wearing gloves, and yet they still drew in his fingernails. In the episode Double Danger, Race, Haji, Johnny, and Bandit are riding in a Jeep. But as they round a curve, they are no longer drawn in their usually detailed manner, and Johnny's hair has even changed colors. I guess they were trying to take advantage of the smaller television sets they had back then, guessing that nobody would notice the characters no longer had, faces. Also, the Jeep's wheels disappear for a split second. It's amazing what you notice when you slow things down just a little bit. In the episode Shadow of the Condor, first Bandit is outside a basement window looking in on the evil Baron, but from the interior shot, Bandit can't be seen. And even when Johnny and Haji begin looking in, they too are missing from the interior view of the outside. In the episode The Dreadful Doll, Race is held prisoner by Fred Flintstone. I'll explain that later. So Race is held in a room where the door opens to the inside of the room. Now there is a guard that the boys distract easily with rocks, but why does Race have to wait for Johnny to remove the board on the outside of a door that opens to the inside of his room? A board that is not visibly attached to the door in any way. See, the board's only attached to the door frame, not the door itself. Also in this episode, notice that the girl is sitting right next to both Johnny and Haji. But when the camera view switches to a close-up, Haji isn't there anymore. And then the camera switches back and he's back to where he was again. The animators were probably just trying to save a little time by cutting corners, just a little bit in this scene. Now this one I'm not completely 100% sure on account of the fact I've never been on a submarine before, or have shot off any torpedoes from a submarine, for that matter. But does it make sense that Race could shoot off the #1 torpedo twice, or were the animators just trying to save time drawing? On the episode Dragons of Ashita, Dr. Quest has Race Bannon's voice in one scene. At first in this scene, Dr. Quest sounds like his old self, voiced by Don Messick in this episode.
No idea why that native would be so afraid of you?
Then on his next line, his voice changes over to Race, voiced by Mike Rowe.
He spoke of dragons.
No idea why that native would be so afraid of you?
He spoke of dragons.
In the episode Werewolf of the Timberland, Dr. Quest's voice comes out of Race.
Look, I think he got away. Look, I think he got away.
In this episode, this dinosaur-looking bird is walking towards Dr. Quest and Race. And all of a sudden, he's instantly in mid-flight. In the episode Pirates from Below, when Haji levitates Johnny, he also somehow changes Johnny's socks from white to blue. Believe it or not.
Hey Haji, that's enough! Let me down!
In the episode Attack of the Tree People, Dr. Quest and Race are playing chess. When the boat catches fire, Quest and Race are still in position staring intently at the chessboard and its pieces that have disappeared from the table. In the episode The Invisible Monster, there's one scene where Bandit's chasing after Dr. Quest and Johnny's mouth doesn't move when he calls after Bandit.
Bandit, come back here! Bandit, come back here!
On the episode The Devil's Tower, a cable holding Dr. Quest's balloon breaks, and as the balloon flies up to a mountain, the cable is there, but when it reaches the top, the cable is gone, but then the cable is back a few seconds later. I wonder, also from this episode, that was fruit the monkey threw down on Bandit, wasn't it? I hope. In this episode, Dr. Quest is doing that thing again, you know, where he borrows Race's voice for a second.
I see him. I see him.
When Race and Quest catch up to a crook named Lieutenant Singh, his clothes are blackened from a car crash, but then he looks perfectly clean, and then he's back to being dirty again. Kinda makes me wonder if two different artists were involved here. In the episode Monster in the Monastery, Johnny can't make up his mind if he wants to wear his red winter coat or just his black shirt.
Shoot! Kill them! Kill them!
Excuse me!
I have one of them!
All right, you guys, let's move it.
Remember when I said Race was held prisoner by Fred Flintstone earlier in this video? Well, Henry Corden, the second voice of Fred Flintstone, did 15 episodes of miscellaneous voices for Jonny Quest.
You're pretty sharp.
He did miscellaneous voice work on the original Flintstones on 15 episodes. He inherited the voice of Fred Flintstone after the first Fred, Alan Reed, passed away in '77. He went on to do the voice of Fred for nearly 3 decades on various cartoon series, animated specials, and cereal commercials. Speaking of the Flintstones, here's some goose from that show I posted a month or two ago. In the original intro to the series, Fred stops by a policeman directing traffic, but his car is positioned in such a way in front of the cop that gives the impression the cop is a giant of a man. In the first season episode, The Sweepstakes Ticket, Fred climbs into Barney's house to get back his ticket. But why does he need a ladder? Isn't Barney's house just one floor? And why go through Barney's bedroom first anyway? I'm just wondering.
Don't listen to him. You know good guys.
Police to 345 Stone Cave Road.
And where does Fred really live at? I mean, I've heard his address been given as Cobblestone Lane, Cavestone Road, Stone Canyon Way, Cobblestone Way. Just where does Fred live at anyway? Not counting the intro, Dino first appeared in episode 4, No Help Wanted, but his origin story didn't come until episode 18, The Snorkosaurus Hunter. The episodes were run out of order, which, when you throw in the creative curve where characters change as they develop, you get a confusing episode where Dino appears to have the intelligence and communication skills of any human.
Oh,
I am such a forgetful dunce.
Kind of reminds me of Top Cat. During the early days, they had a hard time figuring out which color they wanted to stick with, too. On the Snorkosaurus episode, there's a few instances where you can see where Dino's neck, which is a different cell than the body, didn't quite fit seamlessly. Hanna Barbera used separate picture cells for the body and the head to make animation faster. That way they didn't have to draw the body every time they moved the head.
It's for you, madame.
Thank you, Dino.
Sometimes, Hanna-Barbera's fast-paced schedule would cause voices to get mismatched, making it appear in this case that Betty had somehow just possessed Wilma.
Drop in sometime to say hello. Drop in sometime to say hello.
Going back to Hanna-Barbera's use of separate cells for the head and body, it could sometimes create some scary-looking scenes, as in this one where Fred's head disappears for a second.
Changing one tire was bad enough, but all four. Changing one tire was bad enough, but all four.
I love this program. Makes you feel so intelligent.
In the episode Bowling Ballet, Fred, Barney, Wilma, and Betty are walking home after the bowling game, but Fred and Barney had driven there. Wilma and Betty just sort of showed up. Here's a question for you. Does Fred work for the Rockhead and Quarry Construction Company? Or for the Bedrock Gravel Company? I'm just asking because I don't know.
Oh boy.
In the episode Baby Barney, Fred and Barney passed the same hotel 3 times. Actually, using the same background over and over in a walking scene is standard practice in animation to save time drawing, but it is funny to notice if you just happen to see it. That one's not a goof. Yeah, I just love that scene.
Okay, big mouth.
In the episode Nothing But the Tooth, Barney visits the dentist and gets filled with gas, which leads him and Fred floating in the air with Fred's car. But what I don't understand is why Fred's car changes color. In the episode Fred's New Job, Fred's boss, Mr. Slate, acts like he doesn't recognize Barney when in an earlier episode called Fred's New Boss, Mr. Slate found out that Barney was his nephew. Of course, I don't believe nothing was ever said about Barney being related to Mr. Slate ever again.
Oh, you're a riot, Mr. Slate.
Fred's car is so cool. When he needs a trunk to pull out tools for a flat tire, it's there. Later on, the trunk just disappears when he doesn't need it. And when Fred needs another seat so the girls can come along, the car lengthens and comes with another seat upon the need at the time. And then the seat's gone again. In this particular episode, I wonder if they meant to put Fred's feet pointing up the wrong way to signify his mangled condition, or were they just in a hurry?
Now I know what a pizza feels like.
When Barney gets a big cat to threaten Fred with over a boundary dispute, the property line seems to move on its own. Well, I don't want to ruin your childhood, but where's the holes in the floor for their feet to push the bus along?
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
And when they showed us the inside of the bus, where did all the people go? Later in that episode, Fred's arm turns orange. In the episode, The Rose Rock Caper, Fred is thrown out of a window from a very tall building, but when he lands, Barney is very uncharacteristically unemotional about the whole thing. He doesn't blink, he doesn't ask Fred if he's okay, and then suddenly Barney becomes Fred.
Believe it or not.
Also in that episode, Barney shows us he can put his shirt on in a split second. I have noticed that people tend to change clothes really fast on this show.
Mr. Flintstone, Mr. Flintstone,
Check out Fred's hat. It literally disappears right in front of our very eyes.
That's incredible!
Keep your eye on Barney's phone.
Could it be Fred Flintstone after all these years?
Who's that, Fred? Search me.
Have you ever felt like Barney's voice was a little off? Well, Mel Blanc was in a near-fatal car crash towards the beginning of Season 2 of The Flintstones. And while he was getting better, Dawes Butler had to take his place for several episodes.
Well, whoever it is, he's got a box of candy and some flowers with him.
Here's another episode where Barney shows off his ability to change clothes at super speed. 1 second he's in a fancy dinner outfit, then he's playing the piano in his regular duds, and then he's back in a suit again. When Fred gets a camera, he forces the entire world to watch home movies, and in one scene he counts Pebble's fingers to 10. But we all know cartoon characters only have 3 fingers and a thumb for a total of 8.
9, 10.
In the episode Decoy for a Dognapper, Scooby has been dognapped and the gang are in hot pursuit.
The dognappers must have Scooby.
Okay, this is it. Here we go. But no sign of Shaggy and Scooby.
No sign of Fred or Daphne either.
Cave-in! Can you get us out? Almost immediately.
Ever wonder if Fred Jones is indeed himself a ghost? Now that'd be a kicker, wouldn't it?
Don't jump!
There's one scene from the episode Spooky Space Coot that makes me wonder if Scooby himself isn't the ghost. Or maybe they just forgot to draw in Scooby's head for a second.
Well, gang, it looks like we're up to our armor plates and another mystery.
In the episode Mystery Mask Mix-Up, during the car chase scene, Scooby Doo is in 2 places at once. Somehow Scooby's in the mystery van and he's on top of the crook's car at the same time. You know, they must have been in a real big hurry to color Scooby's arm the same green color as Shaggy's shirt.
I'm coming, Scooby-Doo!
The episode Bedlam and the Big Top kind of makes me wonder if Velma isn't really a ghost. Either that or Velma just has an amazing way of climbing up ladders.
I'm coming, Scooby-Doo!
Watch what happens when Fred finds out that Daphne has fallen into a mine shaft.
Wouldn't you know it? Danger-prone Daphne fell into a mine shaft.
I don't know. If Fred wasn't a ghost, how could he turn his head around like that?
It looks like we found ourselves a mystery.
And tell me, why is it that Scooby's black spots just disappear from time to time? Speaking of ghosts, in the very first episode, a truck comes towards the screen and absolutely nobody is driving it, at least until the next shot.
Believe it or not.
Also in this episode, the Knight's crest of red hair disappears and reappears magically, and we all know he wasn't a real ghost. In the episode A Clue for Scooby Doo, Shaggy trades hair with Fred.
I thought that rock was pretty suspicious. A clue.
Then let's pay him a visit.
Oh, I know that Scooby and Shaggy can eat and drink really fast, but this is ridiculous. Keep your eye on Shaggy's eye.
Groovy. Now we gotta catch it. Groovy. Now we gotta catch it.
You gotta watch Shaggy. This time it's his leg that won't stay put.
They thought I was Redbeard. They thought I was Redbeard.
Strange, the bizarre, the unexpected.
In the episode A Night of Fright is No Delight, I have more proof that Fred is not of this world.
You gotta be kidding.
No human could change in and out of his pajamas quite that fast. I wonder why Scooby and Shaggy didn't notice that Fred was in his pajamas, then he was in his regular clothes, and then he was back in his pajamas again.
You sure got some imagination.
They've decided to play it safe and watch this show from outside on the drain pipe.
Hey, where's Velma's hand at? See? Ghost. So you know this old spooky house is surrounded by water. That has apparently frozen over since the gang traveled here by boat earlier.
First, I'm gonna hit the old lunch sacks. A little fish food.
Apparently the fish was ghost too.
A little fish food.
Another mystery is, why are all the newspapers completely unreadable?
First thing first.
I'm sure you've heard of having an out-of-body experience. Well, on the Creeper episode, Scooby has an out-of-dog collar experience.
Fails.
First thing first.
Heaven help me, I don't know what could have caused such a strange anomaly. Of course, I guess that's not nearly as bad as Shaggy's mouth disappearing when he's just trying to make a simple phone call. Say, you don't suppose this is why people text more these days, do you? Where's the rest of Shaggy? You know, they took bloopers and goofs to a whole other level when they teamed Batman and Scooby Doo together in the 70s new Scooby Doo movies.
See anything?
There were 2 Batman meets Scooby Doo episodes created for the 70s series, the new Scooby Doo movies. In their version of Batman, you can see his neck for some odd reason. I guess they didn't have time to pick up a comic book for comparison. But in one scene, they actually got it right and colored in Batman's neck. And then sometimes they forgot Robin's insignia.
Amazing, Batman. Absolutely mind-boggling. There must be an explanation.
In one scene, the Mystery Machine's name is backwards. Batman's gloves disappear and reappear a second later.
He's not in the next aisle. See anything?
At this point, you have to wonder if they are messing with us or if this is some sort of test. I'm just not sure.
Those devious devils.
It's like, how many things can you spot that are wrong in this one picture?
See anything?
I think I've come to the conclusion that this whole thing was just like a secret way to convey a message to some spy. You know, like James Bond or something.
Amazing, Batman. Absolutely mind-boggling. There must be an explanation.
Robin, this could be a case of group hypnosis.
Next, we have a mystery that's almost as bad as the time that the Super Friends lost Aquaman in the Hall of Justice.
Shaggy?
Scooby Doo, where are you? Where do you think they could have gone?
Who knows?
I think I just solved this mystery. There's Shaggy, and Scooby must be in the back.
Fred! Daphne! Velma! Wait up!
I don't know about you, but my mind is blown.
There's something fishy about this.
Precisely, Robin.
This isn't the only time they've done this.
Velma's disappeared.
I'm gonna disappear too! Come back here, we've gotta find that girl. Come on, spread out. Let's find her. Come on, spread out. Let's find her.
I sure hope they can find Velma. You know, these are some detectives and mystery solvers. Batman can't even keep track of his pants.
And when those poor, deluded villains arrive, they'll find a reception committee waiting for them. Us. Here goes!
Didn't the Penguin just throw his umbrella into the Batman balloon? I hope y'all enjoyed this look back at Hanna Barbera Goofs. These old cartoons may not be perfect, but they still are a lot of fun to watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like and comment. If you know of any goofs I missed, let me know. Maybe I'll be able to add them to a future video. Thanks, and y'all have a great day.